Today, Pet Trade TV are with Daniel Mcalpin, and Daniel, you head up the sales side of things on Glee. And there's a refreshed and renewed focus on pets this year, is that correct?
Yes, correct, yeah.
Now this renewed focus, what's brought that about?
I think it's a lot of it's to do with the industry asking for it. We've obviously always had exhibitors that traditionally exhibited with Glee that took space. I think when they're asking for more and more in terms of garden centres having pet sections in them, it traditionally just then hand in hand that they would want to exhibit at Glee.
So in terms of your aspirations for this show, I mean, currently there's how many exhibitors on the pet side of things?
Roughly I'd say 40 exhibitors plus. That then doesn't include the likes of Scruffs, Pet Face. Obviously then you've got the Guardmans and so on who have obviously the bird ranges and other elements of that. So they're in the other element of the show.
Okay.
So separate from the pet section.
So the focus pet section, about 40 exhibitors.
That's right, yeah.
Are you looking to grow that in future years?
Yes, that is the plan. Obviously, depending on how well it goes this year, we've added new to this year is the pet seminar. So we've got a content director who's solely looking after that. We have just signed RSPCA up as well, and we are talking to them about potentially getting involved in a charity partner as well as other partners. We currently work with PetQuip as well, who are an association. So they are heavily regards to buyers. There will be a programme added alongside the seminar theatre. And there's a networking area that's also attached to that. So to speak to this, obviously an opportunity to speak to those guys and get in front of the key buyers in the pet world.
Have your traditional visitors had an interest in the pet sector?
I would say, yeah, it's a high percentage that would be interested in buying pet products. Obviously, as we said earlier, 80% of garden centres have pet sections in them, and more now are adding pet sections to them.
So looking further forward, you're trying to attract independent pet retailers?
Yes, correct, yes. Yeah.
What are you doing to do that, to get that?
We're focusing marketing heavily on that. And really trying to nail down who exactly we want there, and really sort of inviting them VIPs, making sure they know who are exhibiting, targeting them through the website and direct mail. So yeah, really sort of focused marketing is how I'd put it.
Everything's cyclical, and 10 or 12 years ago there was a big pet index show as part of Glee. Then Pats came along and that's come up with its 2 regional events. Are you sensing that it's time again for a centralised NEC show, a big show for pets?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I think again it's all been led by exhibitors' needs and the focus being around garden centres, garden retailers, online retailers, and the fact that it is the NEC, there is the international focus of visitors and exhibitors. So yeah, I think it's...
So by exhibitors, potential exhibitors rather than your historic exhibitors, because obviously you've attracted new people, is that what
we have? Yeah, I mean obviously there are some existing that have done Pet Index and Pats and are doing now Pets at Glee, and there's focus on completely new business. I recently went out to Interzoo, an exhibition in Nuremberg, and spent 5 days there. PetQuip obviously had their area, but managed to have over 25 meetings there that were pre-scheduled before I went, and we've already had success from that. So just being there, face to face, explaining what the UK market was about. Some of those companies...
So these were international exhibitors?
Some were, some wasn't, yes. I mean, obviously all the PetQuip members I'm aware of and are speaking to anyway, as our PetQuip, about getting involved. But it was a good opportunity for me to speak to them, see their products there, and go into a little bit more detail on what Pets at Glee is about. So yeah, it was very beneficial. And as I say, we've actually already processed revenue and orders from that. So it's definitely worthwhile.
Glee's a massive show, Daniel. What are we going to see of interest to pet retailers there within the whole show?
So it will be a dedicated area, a dedicated entrance. so they will be guided towards that area. And in any pre-reg for the pet section, they will then be told who they can see. So the likes of Royal Canin, James Wellbeloved, RSPCA, who I mentioned earlier, some of the key players alongside Scruffs and Pet Face and Guardman, who are in the actual body of the show. It will be easier for them to find those exhibitors. There'll be show guides when you are here, boards, and they will know when they're in the right section for them to be able to find them.
In terms of the seminar programme, is there a programme dedicated to pets?
It is, yeah. So the seminar theatre and the networking area is located in the pet section, which is at the bottom of Hall 19. And that's all being pulled together now by the content team. I have seen it, and I have seen brief confirmation of who's in it.
But you're not ready to go public on that?
That will be more processed in the next, we've not long gone open to pre-reg, so visitors can actually now pre-register.
Okay.
So that will be something that we'll now slowly start trickling in. Obviously, we've got a seminar theatre in the main body of Glee as well.
Okay.
So it's just a way in which it's kind of drip fed into the industry once we know. But it will all be live on the Glee website under the Pets at Glee tab.
Okay.
Everything can be viewed there.
So dedicated seminar theatre with a programme running throughout the show?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, all 3 days,
Okay.
morning and afternoon.
You mentioned a networking area there. Can you tell me a bit about that?
So the networking area is for then the speakers, before, after, during, to be able to obviously have a tea and coffee, relax and meet other people, exhibitors as well.
Oh, right, okay.
It's actually sponsored this year as well by a company called Trilenco. So they are sponsoring that, which is good for us and good for them this year. But yeah, it's just a breakout opportunity. The Pet Quip buyers meetings will also be taking place in that area as well.
So Pet Quip are bringing buyers over to the show?
Yes.
From overseas?
Yeah.
Last year, the retail lab was a popular feature. Is that something that you're doing again this year?
We are. The retail lab was very successful. Got BBC breakfast coverage last year. It's gathering a lot of momentum this year, and there will be Happy Garden is the overriding theme, and then one of the 5 subsectors in that is going to be pets.
Okay.
So ways in which you can enjoy pets in the garden while you're gardening, and so on and so forth. So there's a real focus on that this year.
And how does a retail lab work then?
So the retail lab is basically all to do with trends in the industry. We are working very closely with a gentleman called Romeo Summers, who is the creative director, and WGSN, who are also involved in this, which is a different part of the business. And it's all to do with trends moving forward within the gardening industry. So it's a way in which you can look at the way we will design the retail lab, and then, in theory, garden centres could then use those ideas, or give them an idea of how they could then use that in their garden centres.
So looking at trends, crystal ball gazing, helping them plot a path.
That's right.
Going forward.
And giving them the bright idea of that's good, we could do that, and
Okay.
it's a broad range of exhibitors that we've got involved. Some have done it before, some are new to it. Second year in, and it's going to be better than it.
Is it a static display, or is it something that's interactive? Or?
There are parts of it that are interactive. I don't want to let too much out
Okay.
of the bag at the moment, but the element of it is that it's positioned right by Pets at Glee.
Yeah.
It's in Hall 19. It's 2 separate features, but it's one retail lab. And the reason it's 2 separate is because the elements of the 5 sectors that I mentioned, or themes, and also the HTA have their meeting point there as well.
Right,
so
okay.
they're obviously a key sponsor behind it as well.
Okay.
So it really is the touch point of the event. A lot of traffic will head towards it. A lot of garden centres and buyers will head to the retail lab, knowing how good it was last year.
It seems this year there's a big push and a focus on the pet sector. Is that correct?
I would say it started last year,
Okay.
2017, and we've built on that this year. I mean, it didn't have its own seminar theatre last year, and really dedicated area and zone. It did have an area, but it wasn't by an entrance as you first walked into the show. So that's really been sort of a main focal point this year.
So its profile and presence has been lifted.
Correct, yeah.
And certainly we're seeing that from the marketing that's going out to the pet sector.
Yeah, that's good.
From your point of view, Daniel, what would make this a successful show?
I think, we've just recently had a exhibitor masterclass when we invited all exhibitors that are booked, new, existing and lapsed, to come and meet us, but come and meet potential retailers and buyers. And what we basically gauged from that is that, setting objectives for the event and then also gauging what return on investment you get is key. And that's what I think hearing back from exhibitors this year on who they've seen and what they've set and if they've hit those targets is really going to be the key factor. And from our point of view, a busy show, once we're back and we can look at who's pre-registered, who's actually come to the event, the pre-reg figure is always higher, we know that, but why didn't they come and who were they? And as I said earlier, about focusing on inviting these VIPs and making sure that they're there is the key factor. And we hope that if they're there and the exhibitors are there, they're both gonna play into each other's hands. So it will work on both fronts.
So if I summed it up as being a long-term strategy.
Yeah, I think as I say, last year it started. This year it's already got, it's progressed already bigger and better. And then hopefully in the next year, 2 year, 3 year, it continues to, slowly grow. I think it's going to take a long time to ever get back to the 200 exhibitors that you mentioned earlier, because there probably isn't that many companies that are still, in terms of targeting who we wish to have there. But in terms of even, people I've spoken to and have all said, I've got numerous meetings lined up this year from people who have said, right, we're going to come and see it and then look at potentially booking in September next year. And some of the brands are real big brands who I've met at Interzoo who have done perhaps Pet Index before and haven't done the new Pets at Glee. So it's more on the basis that they'd already booked shows Interzoo year. And the fact that their budgets had been spent by the time I was then speaking to them, which is a tad of a shame because they would have been good to have back. But the meetings are set up for September. Hopefully they'll come and have a good experience and then say, right, well, we'd like to book for 2019. That's the key behind it. And
they'll book if people come along and
it
makes the experience worthwhile.
Exactly.
They'll vote with their feet.
Exactly that. And Glee in its own right is on the upward ladder. It's getting back to where it was. The industry it's after a real slow start this year with regards to weather and conditions. It's actually the heat wave we're having, and since really we had a poor Easter, which then meant that sort of slowed down Q1, but Q2 and 3, they're gonna be probably, I would say, percentage high compared to other years in terms of how that's looking.
Make up the shortfall for the Easter weekend, which is always a big weekend for the garden trade, isn't it?
That's right. And it was unfortunate it was early this year, but it did rain for 4 days. But again, in terms of garden centres, you don't need the weather to visit a garden centre to buy pet products.
No.
You can go any time of the year, throughout the year, every day. The products are there. You don't need the sunshine to be out. Obviously it always helps, but it's to buy accessories or pet food or anything along those lines. It's open, every day of the week and throughout the year. So that's one plus point I think where garden centres are now seeing that they're attracting them all year round. If they go and have a tea and coffee or have some lunch while they're there and so on.
So in the last 20 years or so, garden centres really have evolved into more of an experience.
Yeah, it's a bit similar to an exhibition in the fact that we try and keep people in the halls as long as we can, and as long as there's enough for them to see and do and learn and make sure that they can, warrant being out of the office is the key thing now. Everyone's time is important and more so than ever. but yeah, it's, you know, getting those people to come more than once, twice,
Yeah.
and so on.